Hello, sleepy thinkers, and welcome to the Bedtime Discoveries. I'm so glad you're here with me tonight. Find a comfortable place, let your body rest, and let your mind drift gently as we journey together into the story of how birds learn to fly. The sky is filled with their songs, their wings move with grace and power. Yet long ago, birds could not fly at all. Their journey from land-bound creatures to masters of the air is one of nature's most beautiful stories. Tonight, we will follow that story, slowly, softly, step by step. Before we begin, my friend, I would love to know, where are you listening from tonight? And what time is it as you drift into this quiet space? Leave a gentle note in the comments below if you feel like sharing, and if this calm exploration brings you peace. I kindly invite you to like this video and subscribe to the Bedtime Discoveries so that together we can wander through many more wonders of science in the nights to come. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the Earth as it was long before humans walked across its surface. The air was warmer, the continents were arranged differently, and the forest stretched wide and endless. This was the world of the dinosaurs, a world filled with creatures so strange and mighty that they almost feel like something from a dream. But hidden among the great giants, there were also the small ones, delicate creatures, often overlooked. In the shadows of tall ferns and beneath the towering feet of colossal sauropods, tiny dinosaurs scurried and climbed. These smaller beings were the true beginnings of birds. Around 230 million years ago, dinosaurs first appeared. For tens of millions of years, they grew and evolved, spreading into nearly every corner of the earth. And while the great predators like Tyrannosaurus ruled the land and giant plant eaters stretched toward the sky, there was another quiet story unfolding. Some dinosaurs were changing slowly, gently in ways that no one could predict. Many of these were called theropods, two-legged, often swift-moving hunters. Some were fierce, like Velociraptor, but among them were also smaller, lighter forms. And it is from these smaller theropods that birds would one day take flight. One might picture them as strange little creatures, running swiftly across the forest floor, their arms short, their tails long and stiff, their bodies covered in early, hair-like feathers. At first, these feathers were not for flying, but they were there like whispers of what was to come. If you stood in that ancient forest, listening quietly, you might hear the rustle of leaves, the call of primitive insects, and then, perhaps, the soft scurry of a feathered dinosaur darting past your feet. It would look almost bird-like, yet not quite, a shadow of the future, still bound to the earth. This is where the story of birds truly begins, not in the sky, but on the ground, among the small, nimble dinosaurs, whose shapes carried the seeds of flight within them. The world then was filled with pressures, challenges, and dangers. And in this world, even the smallest changes, lighter bones, feathers that could trap warmth, arms that could spread wider, offered survival. Evolution works slowly, like the turning of a page in the longest book. And in those quiet, unhurried pages, the ancestors of birds were being written into existence. The earth did not yet know what was preparing, but above the trees, beyond the ground, the sky waited, an open space, vast and unclaimed, and little by little, the path toward was being shaped. For a long time in human history, people did not know that birds were connected to dinosaurs. They saw them as separate, unrelated creatures. But today, science has revealed the truth. Birds are, in fact, living dinosaurs. The connection begins with those small theropods. Imagine creatures like Microraptor, with 4 feathered limbs, gliding through ancient forests, or velociraptor, not as giant as movies often show, but sleek, feathered, and agile. Their skeletons reveal the same structures we see in birds today: wishbones, hollow bones, and even the beginnings of wings. The famous discovery of Archaeopteryx in the 19th century became a turning point. Its fossils showed feathers so clearly preserved, spread wide across delicate arms. And yet, it also carried teeth, claws on its wings, and a long bony tail, features of its dinosaur ancestry. It was a bridge, a glimpse into the moment where dinosaurs were becoming birds. At first, scientists debated fiercely, was Archaeopteryx a bird or a dinosaur? But over time, the evidence grew stronger. Feathered fossils were discovered in China, beautifully preserved in ancient lake beds. Each new discovery whispered the same truth. Birds are not just distant relatives of dinosaurs. They are dinosaurs, the only branch that survived. The very things we think of as bird traits, like skeletons, feathers, even the wishbone, can all be traced back to these ancient theropods. And so, when we watch a sparrow hop along a branch or see a hawk soaring overhead, we are truly looking at the living legacy of dinosaurs. It is humbling to imagine that the mighty creatures who once ruled the earth did not all vanish when the great extinction came. Some of them, small, feathered, fragile-looking, found a way to survive, and their descendants fill our skies today. The origin of birds, then, is not just a story of flight. It is also a story of survival, of resilience, of carrying the memory of the ancient world into the present. A story that lives in every wing beat, every song, every feather. As we move deeper into this story, let's imagine again the ancient earth. Forests alive with strange calls, lakes shimmering under a warmer sun, skies filled not with birds, but with flying reptiles, pterosaurs, soaring high and wide. And yet, down below, in the undergrowth and treetops, creatures with feathers were stirring. Feathers that first kept them warm. Feathers that helped them blend into their surroundings. Feathers that caught the light of the sun, perhaps shimmering in shades of brown, gold, or even iridescent blue. Nature was experimenting. Little by little, those feathers spread wider, longer. Arms began to change, tails began to shorten, balance shifted, and with every generation, the blueprint of a bird was being drawn more clearly. Picture a tiny dinosaur perched on a branch, looking out into the open air. Perhaps it leaps, landing clumsily on another tree. Perhaps it stretches its feathered arms, catching a breath of wind that slows its fall. In that moment, the impossible is being rehearsed. The earth itself seemed prepared for this. The skies were vast, filled with insects and opportunities. The ground was full of dangers, predators, and challenges. And so, the promise of the air became more and more inviting. The ancestors of birds did not know what was coming, but we, looking back, can see the pattern. The story of feathers, of lighter bones, of balance and muscle, all gathering together, step by step, all leading toward a future where the skies would no longer belong only to pterosaurs, but would also be filled with wings that flapped with rhythm and grace. And so, the origins of birds are not just about beginnings. They are about preparation, about quiet changes building towards something greater. They are about how, in the vastness of time, life slowly, softly teaches itself to rise. When you next see a bird gliding across the horizon, remember, you are witnessing not just a simple creature of today, but the descent of a story that began millions of years ago. A story that started in the shadows of dinosaurs and reached upward until it touched the sky. Close your eyes and imagine the surface of the earth. 160 million years ago. The forest stretched tall and ancient ferns and cycads carpet the ground. And among the trees, small dinosaurs move quietly, carrying something unexpected upon their skin. Not scales alone, not fur, not bare hide, but delicate, hair-like strands. These are the first feathers, simple, soft filaments, nothing like the wide, patterned wings of modern birds. At the beginning, they were not designed for flight. Instead, they were whispers of warmth, tiny blankets wrapping around small, vulnerable bodies. Imagine a little dinosaur huddled in the shadows of the night. The air cool, the stars watching above. Those thin strands of feather-trapped heat close to its skin, protecting it in a way bare scales never could. For a creature small and fragile, this difference meant survival. Over time, these simple filaments branched and spread. Some grew longer, flatter, more decorative. Some caught the light of the sun, shimmering in subtle hues. And so, feathers began to serve more than one purpose. They became tools of beauty, of attraction, of display. Picture two dinosaurs meeting in the forest clearing. One shakes its body, a shimmer of feathers glowing in dappled sunlight. The other turns its head, drawn by the brightness, by the signal of health and vitality. Long before birds sang songs in the air, they may have spoken first through feathers, through color, through shine, through quiet displays of life and strength. So the story of feathers began not as wings in the wind, but as warmth, as beauty, as quiet messages written across the body. Each feather carried possibility, and though their purpose would change, their presence marked the first step toward the sky. As the earth shifted and changed, survival became more complex. Creatures needed to stay warm, to hide, to attract, to intimidate, and feathers, soft and versatile, grew to meet these needs. Some dinosaurs developed patterns across their feathers, spots, stripes, blend of color. In the forest shadows, these patterns became camouflage, a way to disappear into the leaves, to escape the sharp eyes of predators. Others grew bold, with feathers so bright they could not be missed. These feathers became signals of strength, warnings of danger, or invitations to courtship. Imagine a dinosaur standing tall, spreading its feathered arms wide. The display itself could frighten an enemy or charm a partner. Feathers became a language, spoken not in sound, but in shape and color. And still, they held their first purpose, warmth. A mother dinosaur may have nestled her eggs, covering them gently with her feathered body, keeping her young safe and warm, wrapped in the softness of evolution's gift. It is a scene not so different from what we see today, a mother bird warming her nest, the past and the present echoing one another through feathers. Science has found fossils with feathers so beautifully preserved that their color patterns are still visible. Black, brown, perhaps iridescent hues that shift in the light. It is as if the ancient world is speaking to us directly, whispering that feathers were not just practical. They were art long before humans could ever imagine it. In this way, feathers became more than survival. They became identity, individuality, and presence. Every feathered creature carried its own story upon its skin, and through them, life began experimenting with the idea of wings. Now, let us pause and reflect on how these simple threads of warmth and color would one day open the skies. At first, feathers had nothing to do with flying, but as they grew broader, flatter, stronger, they began to interact with the air itself. When a small dinosaur leapt from a branch, its feathers caught the wind, slowing its fall, steadying its landing. It was not flight yet, but it was a preview. The structure of feathers became more complex. Each one grew a central shaft, with barbs branching out like tiny trees. Those barbs linked together, forming flat surfaces strong enough to push against air. This was the secret ingredient, the quiet preparation for wings. Even before true flight, feathers gave power. Some dinosaurs ran swiftly, flapping their feathered arms to balance as they leapt to prey. Others used long tail feathers to guide their turns. And still others spread them wide for display, in rituals of beauty and dominance. Evolution does not plan ahead. It does not know what it is building. But every new feather, every new pattern, every new shape carried possibilities that could be explored. And with each small step, feathers became more than warmth, more than art, more than camouflage. They became tools that touched the wind. When we watch a bird today, preening its feathers, arranging them with care, we are watching a ritual that began long before true birds existed. A ritual that carried small dinosaurs toward the edge of the sky. And so, the gift of feathers was more than survival. It was nature's quiet invention, an invention that began as warmth, grew into beauty, and finally became wings. When you close your eyes tonight and picture a bird gliding silently across the air, remember that every feather it carries is a story millions of years in the making, a gift that began in the shadows of dinosaurs and became the poetry of flight. Imagine with me a dense, ancient forest millions of years ago. The air is warm, heavy with the scent of ferns. The buzzing of insects fills the silence. And in the branches above, small feathered dinosaurs perch carefully, their sharp claws gripping bark. They are not yet birds, not yet masters of skies, but they are curious, restless, daring. From time to time, one leaps from its perch, stretching feathered arms wide, and for a moment, the air itself holds them. This is not flight, not the steady rhythm of wings, but a glide, a quiet falling slowed by feathers catching the wind. The leap of gliding is where the dream of flight truly began. In these ancient forests, gliding offered survival, a way to escape predators quickly, a way to move from tree to tree without returning to the dangerous forest floor, a way to surprise prey from above. Fossils like Microraptors show us this story clearly. With four-feathered limbs, wings on both arms and legs, it was a creature perfectly suited for gliding between trees. Picture it leaping, spreading its feathered legs like sails, drifting quietly down to a lower branch, not soaring like a bird, but floating, suspended in the soft air. This stage of gliding was nature's rehearsal. Each jump, each fall slowed by feathers, carried the ancestors of birds one step closer to true flight. Like a child learning to walk before running, gliding was a gentle beginning, the first dance with the sky. And so, long before the first wing beats lifted a creature upward, life was already learning that the air could be trusted, that the sky could be touched, if only for a moment. Why glide? Why risk leaping into the open air instead of staying safely on the branch? The answer lies in survival. The ground below was filled with dangers, predators, larger dinosaurs, sudden ambushes. High in the canopy, food and safety were easier to find. But moving between trees was a challenge. To climb down and up again took time, and in that time, predators could strike. But to leap, to stretch feathered limbs and drift across the gap was faster, quieter, safer. Gliding also opened new opportunities for hunting. A small predator, hidden in the branches, could launch itself at an unsuspecting insect or reptile, descending silently like a shadow with feathers. And gliding saved energy. By using the natural pull of gravity, Creatures could move without constant climbing or running. A soft leap from one tree to another required less effort, less risk, a balance between danger and opportunity, between rest and motion. Over generations, those who glided better survived better. Feathers grew broader, tails straighter, bodies lighter. Each small change gave a tiny advantage, and evolution followed. The forest itself became a testing ground. Every leap an experiment, every glide a lesson, until gliding became more than escape or movement. It became a way of life. When we watch flying squirrels today, stretching their skin to glide from tree to tree, we catch a glimpse of that ancient practice, the gentle art of trusting the air, of falling slowly, of letting the sky carry your body for a breath of time. Birds, long before they could fly, had already begun to master that art. Evolution is not sudden. It is a story written slowly, in tiny steps. Gliding was one of those steps, the bridge between earth and sky. Each glide gave the ancestors of birds more reason to refine their feathers, more reason to grow lighter bones, more reason to build muscles that could one day push against the air instead of simply falling through it. Gliding showed them that the air was not just empty space. It was something that could be shaped, held, guided, that a feathered body could partner with the wind rather than fight against it. In time, some gliders began to flap their arms, at first, perhaps only to balance themselves midair, a nervous motion, a reflex against falling too quickly. But every flap that slowed a descent became a practice stroke of future wings. Step by step, leap by leap, evolution stitched these small experiments together. The leap from a branch became a glide. The glide became a fall slowed by flapping. And one day, somewhere deep in time, a creature did not fall at all. It lifted, however briefly, into true flight. We may never know the exact moment, but we can imagine it. A small dinosaur, feathers spread, flapping against the pull of gravity, rising just a little higher than it fell. The sky, for the first time, opened its arms. The leap of gliding was not the final chapter, but it was the essential middle. Without gliding, wings may never have learned their purpose. Without gliding, the path to flight may never have unfolded. So, tonight, when you think of birds soaring far above, remember their ancestors, perched in quiet forests, leaping bravely into the air, trusting their feathers, trusting the sky, and discovering, softly and slowly, that the air could hold them. Imagine again the world millions of years ago. The forests were thick with ferns and towering conifers. The rivers shimmered with strange fish, and on the ground, the earth trembled with the footsteps of dinosaurs. Among these, not all were giants. Many were small, swift, feathered creatures, running across open ground with remarkable speed. Their tails stretched out behind them, stiff and balanced, their arms feathered, though not yet wings. Picture one such creature, chasing after a small insect, or leaping toward a scurrying lizard. It runs fast, leaps upward, and for a moment, its feathered arms spread wide. The air resists them, slows them, steadies their movement. This is not yet flight, not gliding from trees above, but something different, the running start. A partnership between speed on the ground and the air above. When danger appeared, perhaps a larger predator crashing through the brush, these small feathered dinosaurs could sprint, leap, and stretch their arms to lengthen their escape. When hunting, they could run, jump, and pounce with greater precision. Each time their feathers caught the air, each time balance was improved, leaps became longer, and the sky whispered closer. This was another path toward flight, not from trees downward, but from the ground upward. And just as gliding had opened the first doorway, the running start unlocked the second. Let us slow down and imagine the body of these creatures in motion. Their legs were strong, built for speed. Their tails stiffened their posture like a tightrope walker's pole, keeping them steady as they sprinted. Now imagine them running at full speed, feathers spreading along their arms. As they leapt, those feathers brushed the air, catching it, shaping it, slowing their fall just enough. Scientists believe that this kind of running and leaping may have been crucial to the birth of flight. The ground, after all, offered both the space and the momentum needed for takeoff. Unlike gliding from branches, this path depended on speed, the rhythm of footsteps pounding the earth, the sudden lift of a leap, and the air rushing beneath feathers. Some fossils, such as those of Caudipteryx and Protoarchaeopteryx, reveal creatures with feathered arms too small for full flight, but perhaps large enough to help them run and leap more effectively. It is as though evolution was experimenting, testing whether feathers could serve as tiny parachute stabilizers or even early wings. One hypothesis, called wing-assisted incline running, suggests that these small dinosaurs used their feathered arms to help them climb steep surfaces. Imagine a little feathered creature sprinting up a slope, flapping its arms wildly, the feathers pressing against the air, giving just enough force to keep it from sliding backward. In this way, the wings were trained long before they were strong enough for true flight. Every sprint, every leap, every flap became practice for what was to come. And though they did not yet fly like birds, they were shaping the very motions birds still use today. The push of strong legs, the spread of wings, the leap upward, movements that echo across millions of years, from dinosaur bird, from earth to sky. The earth itself became the training ground. Flat plains, forest floors, riverbanks, all served as natural runways for these creatures. Each leap from the ground taught them that speed could be turned into lift, that running was not just escape, but preparation, not just survival, but possibility. In the grand story of life, gliding and running work together. Some dinosaurs leapt from branches, some leapt from the ground. Both paths, slowly and softly, were weaving into the same destination, flight. Running starts may have given the earliest birds an advantage, even after they learned to fly. For even today, many birds rely on a running start to lift themselves into the sky. Think of the swan, sprinting across the water before rising into the air. Think of the pheasant, beating its wings furiously as it dashes forward through tall grass. Even modern birds echo their ancestors, carrying forward that ancient rhythm of speed and lift. So, the running start was not just a stage in evolution. It was a foundation, a reminder that the earth and the sky are always connected, that the gift of flight was born not only in the trees, but also on the ground, in the simple, determined act of running. Picture now one of those ancient feathered creatures sprinting across a clearing, leaping with all its strength. Its feathered arms catch the air, its tail balances the motion, and for a moment it stays aloft longer than the leap should allow. That moment holds the promise of wings. That moment holds the future of birds. The running start was not glamorous, not soaring, not graceful, but it was real, it was powerful, and it was necessary. It was the bridge between earth and sky, the steady footsteps that led, slowly and softly, toward flight. Close your eyes for a moment and picture the body of a small feathered dinosaur. Its bones are light, its feathers stretch across its arms, its tail guides its balance. But beneath the skin, something new is growing. Muscles, strong and coordinated, beginning to shape the motion of wings. For gliding and running starts, only small movements were enough. A stretch here, a flap there, a little push against the air. But true flight demanded more. It required power, rhythm, endurance. Think of a bird you've seen today. Perhaps a pigeon rising from the street, or a sparrow darting from branch to branch. Notice how quickly the wings beat, how much force drives them upward. That strength comes from a muscle no other animal developed in the same way. The great chest, the pectorals. Long ago, in the bodies of dinosaurs, these muscles began to shift and grow, no longer just for running or climbing. They began to anchor themselves against the breastbone, pulling the arms downward with great force. Each contraction became a push against the air. Each beat a tiny step toward lift. At first, it may have been awkward, flaps uncoordinated, power wasted. But over countless generations, the rhythm improved, the muscles grew stronger, and wings began to press not only down, but forward and up, transforming simple flaps into something more, true flight strokes. It is humbling to think of evolution in this way. Every small leap, every flap of a feathered arm, every moment of muscle strain was training for a destiny no creature yet understood. The air was waiting, and the muscles were preparing to meet it. To understand the power of flight, we must look deeper inside, at the skeleton, the structure that supported those mighty muscles. Birds today carry a large keel, a ridge on the breastbone where powerful flight muscles attach. This keel acts like an anchor, a surface for muscles to pull against. Without it, the wings would be weak, unable to push air with force. But in the beginning, there was no keel. Early feathered dinosaurs had flat breastbones, too small to anchor great muscles. Still, little by little, that bone deepened, the surface widened, the muscles grew, the strokes became stronger. Imagine one of those early creatures, its wings flapping hard as it ran up a slope or tried to glide farther than before. The strain of those motions pulled on its bones, shaped them, encouraged growth across generations. Evolution listened to the demand for strength, and slowly the keel appeared. Once it did, the wings became powerful. No longer just arms with feathers, but engines of motion. The downstroke pushed against the air, lifting the body higher. The upstroke folded slightly, wasting less energy. Together, the two strokes formed a cycle, beat after beat, steady and strong. This was no longer gliding, no longer falling slowly. This was rising, lifting, climbing into the air. And behind it all, muscles worked tirelessly, contracted with incredible force. Even today, in modern birds, these muscles can make up nearly a third of the body's weight. They are the heart of flight, the silent power hidden beneath the beauty of feathers. So when you see a bird take off, beating its wings with rapid strength, remember the story beneath the surface, the story of muscles, bones, and effort that transformed soft gliding into soaring flight. Strength alone was not enough, for flight demands not just power, but endurance. Muscles had to grow efficient, able to contract again and again without tiring too quickly. Picture a bird in the sky today, perhaps a swallow chasing insects, or a goose migrating across continents. Their wings beat for minutes, hours, sometimes days. This is possible only because of specialized muscle fibers. Fibers built not only for strength, but for long-lasting rhythm. In the age of the first birds, these changes began quietly. As muscles grew larger, blood supply grew richer, bringing oxygen to feed their effort. Bones grew lighter, making each stroke easier. The body's entire system bent toward one purpose: sustaining the beat of wings. Some creatures still preferred short bursts, leaping from the ground, flapping hard, then gliding to rest. Others, little by little, developed the endurance to stay aloft longer. And from these differences, the diversity of bird flight began, some fast, some strong, some graceful, some tireless. Even today, we see echoes of this in the world around us. The hummingbird, with muscles that beat wings faster than the eye can follow. The albatross, whose great chest allows hours of soaring above endless oceans. The hawk, whose steady strokes keep it circling high above. All of it, every wing beat, every glide, every rise into the air, is powered by those muscles, forged long ago in the bodies of small dinosaurs, shaped by time, strengthened by need. And so, the power of muscles was not simply physical strength. It was the key that unlocked endurance, grace, and mastery of the skies. It was the silent force beneath the feathers, the living engine of flight. When you feel your own heartbeat steady in your chest, think of the birds whose flight muscles contract just as tirelessly, rhythm after rhythm, lifting them into the air. Think of the story of strength, hidden within the softness of wings. It is a reminder that beauty often rests upon effort, that what seems effortless, the glide of a bird, the beat of its wings, is carried by power unseen, by muscles that never stop. And in that quiet truth, we see the heart of flight itself. Strength, endurance, and rhythm working together, transforming earthbound creatures into masters of the sky. Imagine a bird rising into the air, its wings beating gently, its body lifted almost as if weightless. But birds are not made of air nor of fragile dust. They are flesh, muscle, bone, and yet they are light enough to float above us. How is this possible? The answer lies deep within their skeletons, in a gift of nature called hollow bones. Long ago, when the ancestors of birds still walked the earth as small feathered dinosaurs, their bones were solid, heavy, strong enough for running and leaping. But as the dream of flight unfolded, weight became an enemy. Every extra gram made lifting harder. Every heavy bone pulled them back to the ground. So, over countless generations, bones began to change. Inside, where marrow once filled every space, air began to weave its way in. The walls of the bones grew thin but not weak. A delicate structure of struts and cross beams supported them, like the beams of a bridge. This was the genius of evolution, bones that were both light and strong. Hollow, filled with air, but reinforced by tiny ridges and patterns. Strong enough to carry the strain of flight, yet light enough to lift. If you were to hold the bone of a bird in your hand, it might feel almost fragile, almost too delicate to endure, and yet that same bone can withstand the pounding rhythm of wings, the impact of landings, the tension of muscles pulling against again and again. Hollow bones are a quiet secret, a hidden design that made flight possible. Without them, the body would have been too heavy, too bound to earth. With them, the sky opened and birds began to rise. But the story of hollow bones is not only about lightness. It is also about breath, about the rhythm of life flowing through body. In many birds, these hollow spaces are not empty. They are connected to the lungs, part of a network of air sacs that make breathing more efficient. Air moves not just in and out, but through, circulating in one continuous flow. This is different from the way humans breathe, where air enters, stops, and exits. Birds breathe in a cycle that never truly pauses. Oxygen flowing steadily, fueling their muscles, feeding the tireless beat of wings. Imagine a bird soaring across the ocean, flapping for hours, never tiring. Its hollow bones are not simply light. They are part of a living system, carrying breath deep into the body. Air fills the bones, lightens a frame, and brings energy where it is needed most. This is why birds can fly at high altitudes, where oxygen is thin. This is why geese can migrate over the Himalayas, gliding above snowy peaks where humans would struggle to breathe. It is not only their wings that lift them, but their lungs, their hollow bones, their endless breath. So when we think of hollow bones, let us not imagine emptiness, but fullness, full of air, full of life, full of the rhythm that keeps birds soaring. The hollow bones of birds are a delicate balance, a harmony between strength and fragility. Too heavy, and flight will be impossible. Too fragile, and the skeleton would break under the strain of muscles and motion. And so, nature crafted something remarkable, bones light enough for flight, but strong enough for survival. Some people once believed that hollow bones made birds weak. But look at an eagle seizing prey with its talons, or a woodpecker striking a tree with its beak. These creatures are anything but fragile. Their bones are perfectly designed for their purpose. In fact, some hollow bones are stronger, weight for weight, than the solid bones of mammals. Their secret lies in the inner architecture. Fine, hidden patterns that distribute pressure, absorb shock, and hold strength. It is as if every bone is both sculpture and machine, elegant in form, efficient in function. Even their shapes are tuned for flight. The long, light wings, the narrow ribs, the fused vertebrae that give stability in the air. Think of a swallow darting through the air, changing direction in an instant. Think of an owl gliding silently through the night. Think of a crane lifting itself skyward on broad, slow wings. Each movement is made possible by bones that are hollow, yet unbreakable in their purpose. Hollow bones remind us of a quiet truth. Sometimes, strength is not about heaviness or density, but about design, balance, and harmony. They are the silent frame of flight, the hidden gift that allowed birds to leave the earth behind. And so, the story of hollow bones is not just about weight or air or structure. It is about possibility. It is about the sky opening to creatures who once walked the ground. It is about how lightness, when balanced with strength, can change the destiny of life itself. When a bird first lifts itself into the air, the challenge is not only to rise, but to remain steady. Flight is more than wings beating. It is balance, harmony, the art of staying upright in a world without solid ground beneath the feet. Imagine the earliest feathered dinosaurs, flapping their primitive wings. Each lift carried them upward, but each motion also tilted their body side to side, threatening to throw them off course. Without balance, flight would have been wild, chaotic, dangerous. And so, slowly, evolution shaped bodies for stability. The long, feathered tails of early creatures acted like rudders, steering them, steadying them. Later, as tails shortened, wings took on more of this role, spreading wide not only for lift, but also for balance. Think of a tightrope walker, arms stretched out to stay steady above a rope. For early flyers, wings worked in the same way, adjusting, shifting, tilting ever so slightly to correct each wobble. Balance was the key, the hidden art that turned clumsy leaps into graceful glides. Even today, balance is at the heart of every bird's flight. When a hawk hovers in the sky, when a swallow darts through the air, when a heron glides across a lake, each movement is guided not only by power, but by balance. It is this gift, this delicate harmony, that makes flight not just possible, but beautiful. To stay balanced in the air, birds needed more than wings. They needed bodies designed for stability, with weight carefully arranged around a center of gravity. In most birds, this center lies near the chest, where the powerful flight muscles are anchored. It keeps the body steady, like a ship with its keel beneath the water. Without this careful balance, flight would tip forward or back, throwing the bird off course. Tails, too, played a vital role. In early species, long feathered tails worked like the rudders of boats, steering side to side, adjusting pitch and angle. Over time, tails grew shorter and lighter, but they never lost their purpose. Even in modern birds, tail feathers spread wide in flight, fanning out to help with steering, braking, and landing. Picture a swallow in midair, turning sharply to catch an insect. Its wings tilt, its tail spreads, its body pivots, all in perfect harmony. Balance allows such precision, such effortless grace. And wings themselves became more than engines of lift. Their tips and edges adjust constantly, one wing tilting slightly higher, the other lower, correcting each sway. This invisible dance of balance is what allows birds to fly straight, to turn, to dive, to soar. Without balance, wings would only beat against the air. With balance, they carve paths through the sky. But balance is not only about wings and tails. It also lives inside the bird, in senses tuned to motion, tilt, and direction. Deep within the head lies the inner ear, a system of tiny canals filled with fluid. As the bird tilts, the fluid shifts, sending signals to the brain. It is the same system that helps humans stand upright or know when we are spinning. For birds, it is even more refined, allowing them to sense the smallest changes as they soar. Their eyes, too, play a role. A bird in flight is always watching, judging distance, horizon, and motion. The eyes tell the brain if the body tilts, if the wings slip, if the flight path shifts. Together with the inner ear, they keep the bird upright, steady in its rhythm. Some scientists believe even the feathers themselves add to this balance. Tiny nerves at the base of each feather may detect shifts in airflow, warning the bird when a wing is angled too far, or when turbulence ripples across the surface. In this way, feathers are not only for flight, but for sensing the very air they move through. All of these systems, ears, eyes, feathers, muscles, work together in a seamless harmony. The bird does not think about balance. It simply moves, corrects, steadies, glides. Balance is woven into its body, as natural as breathing. And so, when you see a bird hovering in the wind, its wings trembling yet steady, remember the hidden systems at work, the senses and structures that keep it afloat. Balance is not just a tool of survival. It is the quiet magic that makes flight graceful. The gift of balance is the silent partner of flight, always present, always working. It steadies the wings, guides the body, and allows the sky to be not just reachable, but livable. Without balance, flight would be impossible. With it, birds became not just creatures of earth, but true dancers of the air. For countless ages, creatures had leapt, glided, and fluttered through the forests. Some climbed trees and spread feathered arms to drift downward. Others ran across the ground, wings outstretched, catching little gusts of air to slow their fall. But none had yet mastered the sky. None had yet become true flyers. Then, in a moment that was not sudden but gradual, across millions of years, something changed. A new creature emerged, one both ancient and new. Its name would later be remembered as Archaeopteryx, a small feathered being from the late Jurassic. Archaeopteryx was not yet a perfect bird, nor still a dinosaur, but something in between. Its wings were broad, with flight feathers layered neatly, ready to catch the air. Its breastbone was still small, but muscles were beginning to anchor themselves more firmly. And most importantly, it could flap with strength, not just a leap, not just a glide, but to truly fly. Imagine in your mind, perched on a branch beneath a Jurassic sun, feathers glowing gold. It spreads its wings, leaps, and for the first time does more than drift. Its wings beat downward, pushing against the air, and the body lifts upward. Not high, not far, not yet, but enough. Enough to prove that the dream of flight was real. These are the first true flyers. Creatures who did not only borrow from the air, but lived in it. They may have been clumsy by today's standards, their flights short, their landings rough. But in those moments, a new world opened. The sky was no longer a place only for insects or gliding reptiles. It was now a home for birds. Archaeopteryx is the most famous of these first true flyers, known from fossils found in fine limestone, where feathers are preserved in delicate detail. Its wings show the unmistakable pattern of flight feathers, long, stiff, and asymmetrical, the same design seen in modern birds. But Archaeopteryx still carried the marks of its dinosaur heritage. It had teeth in its beak, claws on its wings, and a long bony tail. It was a mixture of two worlds, half dinosaur, half bird. Scientists still wonder how well it could fly. Some believe it flapped only in short bursts, hopping between trees. Others think it was capable of longer flights, chasing insects or escaping predators. What is certain, though, is that it was no longer bound only to the earth. It had entered the air, and that changed everything. And Archaeopteryx was not alone. Other early flyers appeared across the ages. Confuciusornis in China, with a toothless beak and long tail feathers. Ibromosornis in Spain, smaller and lighter, showing more refined flight. Each of these early birds carried the torch forward, each one closer to the mastery of the skies. Think of them as pioneers. Every flap, every glide, every awkward landing was a step toward perfection. The world was filling with creatures who no longer walked alone, but soared. The rise of the first true flyers was more than curiosity. It was the birth of a new era of life. With wings that beat powerfully, these creatures could escape predators, reach new food, and travel across landscapes with freedom unknown before. Insects, once safe high in the air, now had new hunters chasing them. Forests, once ruled only by ground dwellers, now echoed with the flutter and beat of wings. The balance of nature shifted, little by little, with every flight. These early birds were small, fragile, yet brave. Their world was filled with giant dinosaurs, towering predators, and dangers at every turn. But their wings gave them something no giant had: speed, agility, the power to vanish into the sky. It was not perfection yet. Their bones were still heavy compared to modern birds, their muscles not fully developed, their flight often clumsy. But the direction was clear, the path already set. The air was now a home, and evolution would only refine what had begun. When we look at a sparrow today, flitting easily through a city street, or a hawk circling gracefully above a field, we are looking at the children of those first true flyers. The dream that began with Archaeopteryx has never ended. It simply grew stronger, lighter, more graceful, until birds became true masters of skies. And so, the first true flyers remind us of beginnings, that even the greatest journeys start with small, unsteady steps, that what seems awkward at first can grow into grace, that the sky, once unreachable, can become a home, if only we keep leaping, keep flapping, keep reaching upward. When the first true flyers spread their wings, the sky was only beginning to open. At first, their flights were short, little bursts from tree to tree, or brief escapes from predators on the ground. But as wings grew stronger, as bones grew lighter, as balance and muscles improved, something extraordinary began. Flight expanded. The air, once a dangerous place, became a highway. Forests that once trapped creatures on the ground now became open, connected worlds. A bird could rise from one tree and glide to another far away. It could cross rivers, valleys, even small seas. For the first time, life had a tool to conquer distance with ease. No longer bound to one patch of land, early birds could explore, discover, and spread across the earth. With wings, every horizon was within reach. This expansion was not only about distance, it was also about diversity. Some birds became fast flyers, chasing prey through the air. Others became gliders, soaring long distances on wide wings. Still others specialized in hovering, flapping rapidly to stay in place. The sky was not just open, it was vast, filled with possibilities. And birds, once bound to earth, were learning to use every inch of it. As birds spread, flight became more than escape. It became a way of life. Different species began to carve out new niches, new ways of surviving, each shaped by the kind of flight they mastered. In dense forests, small birds developed quick, darting wings, weaving between branches with agility. Over open plains, larger birds learned to soar high, spotting prey from afar. Near rivers and coasts, wings stretched wide to glide over water, searching for fish. This expansion of flight was like painting across a blank canvas. Each bird, each species, added a new stroke, a new color, a new form of movement. Together, they filled the skies of variety, with endless experiments in shape and motion. Think of swifts with narrow wings that cut through the air like arrows. Think of owls, whose wings carry them silently through the night. Think of cranes, whose broad wings lift them steadily over long distances. Each one is an answer to the question, how can a bird best use the air? And this expansion did more than shape the birds. It shaped the world around them. Insects, flowers, forests, even oceans changed under the influence of wings. Birds became pollinators, seed carriers, hunters, prey. The air was no longer just empty space. It was alive, woven into the very fabric of life. Perhaps the most powerful part of this expansion was the ability to journey, to leave one place and find another far beyond the reach of walking or running. Birds began to migrate, following the seasons, chasing food and warmth across continents. Some travel hundreds of miles, others thousands. Even today, the Arctic tern flies from one end of the world to the other, from the icy north to the frozen south, chasing endless summer. This gift of travel reshaped life itself. Birds could escape harsh winters, find new homes, explore new lands. They became explorers before humans ever dreamed of ships or maps. Their wings were their vessels, their instincts their compass, the earth itself their path. With every journey, they carried more than themselves. Seeds clung to their feathers, dropped in new soil. Insects hidden in their food were carried to distant lands. Birds became agents of change, spreading life wherever they flew. And as they expanded their flight, they also expanded their role in nature. They connected forests to plains, rivers to mountains, islands to continents. They became part of the rhythm of the earth, rising and fall with the seasons, always moving, always searching. The expansion of flight was not just a story of birds. It was a story of life itself, reaching farther, growing wider, touching every corner of the world. When we look to the sky and see flocks of birds passing overhead, we are watching not just a moment in time, but millions of years of expansion, of journeys, of discoveries. We are seeing the legacy of wings, of creatures who turned the sky into a pathway and made the whole earth their home. The first true flyers were clumsy, uncertain, their wings still learning the rhythm of the air. But across millions of years, evolution shaped them with patience, sculpting their bodies, perfecting their movements. What began as awkward leaps and short flutters became something greater, mastery. Today, when you look to the sky and see a hawk circling or a swallow darting with effortless precision, you are watching the peak of that long journey. Birds no longer struggle to stay aloft. They command the sky. Each feather, each bone, each muscle works together in harmony, tuned by time for flight. This mastery shows itself in countless forms. The eagle, rising on thermals, climbs higher and higher, barely moving its wings, carried by invisible rivers of air. The hummingbird, so small and delicate, hovers in place with astonishing speed, its wings a blur, its body steady. The swift, whose very name honors its speed, spends most of its life in flight, eating, drinking, even sleeping while gliding. Flight is no longer just survival. It is freedom, art, and mastery. And all of it began with the same story. Feathers, muscles, bones, and balance, slowly shaped into perfection. Mastery of the skies is not only about endurance or distance. It is about adaptability. Birds have learned to use flight in ways as varied as their shapes and colors. Some soar high above mountains, their wings stretched wide, reading the wind like a map. Some dive at incredible speeds, like the peregrine falcon, the fastest creature on earth, plunging with breathtaking force. Others move with quiet grace, like owls, whose wings silence the air, allowing them to hunt unseen in the night. Each one is a specialist, a master of its own kind of movement. Some rule the day, others the night. Some fly for hours across oceans, others for seconds between flowers. Together, they show us the endless ways the sky can be used, shaped, and lived in. And this mastery is not just physical. It is also instinctive. Birds sense the winds, the seasons, the pull of the Earth's magnetic field. They navigate without maps, guided by stars, sun, and memory. They read the invisible, feeling the world in ways humans can only imagine. In this way, they are not only masters of movement, but masters of awareness. The skies belong to them because they understand them, body and mind together, in harmony with the air. When we think of mastery, we often imagine dominance. But the mastery of birds is something gentler, more balanced. They do not conquer the sky. They belong to it. Their mastery is not about control, but about harmony with the current of air, the rhythm of seasons, the shape of the earth. Across the world, they have carved out every possibility. From deserts to oceans, from the icy poles to the steamy tropics, birds have made the sky their home. Some never land except to rest. Some return each year across continents. Some remain close to a single tree. Yet all of them are bound by the same gift. The mastery of flight has also shaped us, the humans who watch them. For countless centuries, people looked upward, dreaming of wings. Myths and stories told of spirits and gods who flew, of messengers who crossed the heavens. And in time, we too built wings of our own, airplanes born from the inspiration of birds. Their mastery taught us what was possible. But perhaps their greatest gift is not invention, nor distance, nor speed. It is the simple beauty of seeing the move, of watching a swallow trace arcs in the evening sky, or a flock of starlings dancing together in murmuration. Their mastery brings us peace, wonder, and a reminder that the world is larger, lighter, and more beautiful than we sometimes remember. Birds are not just masters of skies. They are guardians of a dream, keepers of freedom, reminders of what it means to rise. And so, dear listener, our journey through the story of flight comes to an end. We have wandered from the earthbound ancestors of birds, to feathers, to gliding, to the power of muscles, to hollow bones and balance, to the first true flyers, the expansion of flight, and now, to mastery itself. The story of birds is a story of patience, of persistence, of beauty slowly unfolding. It tells us that even the heaviest bones can grow light, that even awkward leaps can become graceful arcs, and that, with time, dreams as impossible as flight can become real. As you rest now, let your thoughts drift like feathers on a gentle breeze. Imagine the skies above you, vast and open, filled with wings. Know that you, too, carry lightness within you, the possibility of rising, of soaring, of finding freedom in your own way. May your night be calm. May your dreams be gentle. Good night and goodbye from the Bedtime Discoveries.